This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic.
I have to say before we get in the topic for today that you all are the sweetest people. I am so grateful for you. All of that outreach, the support, the love, just the kindness. I can feel it. I can feel the intent behind it. And I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I have to start out by saying that. Truly, you all are the best. I couldn't ask for a better community. I'm so grateful you're here. And I still have the doggone rental car. I don't know what's taking so long. I thought for sure I was going to get it at the end of the week. And I called and they said, oh, we have to run it through calibration. Y'all, it was not that big of a deal. But what am I going to do? I still had the rental. And the funny thing about it is I could get into a bunch of just craziness that happened over the weekend, but I'll save the weird things and I'll just tell you about the pieces that I think are funny. I ended up having to drive my daughter. I had to return some shoes. I bought some shoes online. They were too big and I wanted to return them. And the only place to return them was in the mall. And the way I would rather silently pass away than go to the mall on the weekend is something I cannot verbally express. So I had this grand plan that I was going to go and be at the mall when they open at 10 a.m. And then my daughter had something happen with her phone and we had to basically take care of that. And so it ended up pushing off my mall trip till the worst time on earth is like 1 p.m. on a Saturday. It was snowing. We're supposed to be in spring. And that happens here in Colorado, but it was snowing, it was cold, and I'm in this doggone rental car. So it gets funnier. So we're going to the mall. We cannot find the store because it was Finish Line. That was the store. But apparently, if you're going to do the returns, you don't go to the actual Finish Line. You go to some other store called JD Sports, which was not clear in the return instructions. So we're walking the mall. And you know how you're walking the mall and it's so crowded and people are not walking at the correct, they're walking slow or they're stopping or they're talking and you're just trying to get around them because you have somewhere to go. And there's screaming babies and there's people in the middle, the kiosk. Excuse me, ma'am, can I, straighten your hair or can I give you this? No. I just want to get this done. We're walking the mall. We cannot find it. We're exhausted. I'm like, great. I think I'm going to have to pee. I think I need to use the restroom. I'm exhausted. And we're walking so fast because we're trying to get this thing done because we have other things to get done. My Apple Watch is telling me, oh, looks like you're having an indoor workout. I'm like, sure, go ahead and record it. Yeah, 45 minutes it recorded, and it didn't start right away. The recording usually takes a while. Anyway, we finally get in the doggone store. The line is wrapped around. They've got 2 people at the front. I said, that's it. I don't care. I'm not doing this today. I cannot do it. So we're leaving. We don't remember where we parked. It was just, you have those days from absolute hell and you're looking around like, hello, am I not a kind person? Universe, hello, help me, throw me a bone here. So anywho, we had to meet someone at IKEA. Someone had something that belonged to her. We had to meet him at IKEA. We go, y'all, they were on their way. They weren't there yet. So we had a lapse of time. We get to the rental. And I'm done with this rental. Everyone can see me. I have no privacy. And I'm nervous to put bags of any kind in my car because anyone can just look in and see it. I don't have tinted windows. I have no privacy. Yes, I could put everything in the trunk. That's one of the ways that I've been coping. But then I forget about it because it's in the trunk. So anyway, we go to this coffee shop. And I remembered, it dawned on me. I'm like, this place seems familiar. Oh, I went on a date here once, a long time ago. That tells you when you start kind of forgetting. I forget people even, which is ridiculous. I forget. I can't place how I know them sometimes because it's just been so much over the last few years. I can't parallel park, y'all, in this car because I had to go on YouTube and teach myself how to parallel park, and I got good at it, but I haven't done it in a long time, and it's a perishable skill. I'm trying to park at this doggone street parking lot. I had to get out, switch places with my daughter. People at the coffee shop are watching. They're watching from the window. She has to park. We go inside to get coffee. She wanted a vanilla cappuccino. And again, and there's so many people out. And I'm thinking to myself, hello, it's like snowing. What is going on here? But it's a Saturday, right? Anyway, so she's like, can you get me a vanilla cappuccino? And I got an iced coffee. I just wanted an iced coffee with like 2% milk. So they were like, oh, well, our vanilla cappuccino just comes in one size. Is that okay? I said, oh, okay. I didn't even think about it. I said, sure. Guys, come on now. The coffee cup was like, it was like the size of a child size, like for children. It was the smallest and it was a cappuccino. I'm like, what kind of coffee shop puts a vanilla cappuccino in a coffee cup this size? It looked like one of those, what are those cups that you use, Dixie cups, to wash your mouth out, if you're brushing your teeth. It was a little bit bigger than a Dixie cup. She comes out of the bathroom and she's, what is this? It was so small they didn't have lids. They didn't even have lids for it. It was so small. And I'm like, okay, I just can't. This is like the day straight from hell. I don't know what's going on. We've like switched parallel. We're in some weird universe. I don't know. I don't like this universe. But then the person's like messaging me, are you here? Are you at IKEA? So we got to go. So anyway, we went to IKEA. Okay. Our IKEA is ginormous. I don't go to IKEA much. It's just not really my vibe. And plus, I just can't with all the people. Anyway, it's like 3 stories. So even the parking, you got to go in a parking garage. You can't go to like a regular parking deck. We go in this parking garage and it's so dark in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this just seems like Robberville. I don't know. Anyway, but whatever. So we go park. We go in, meet the person, get the thing. And I started to want to walk around IKEA just because it was fun. And it was so many people, I gave up. Well, let's just leave. So we're leaving and I'm turned around. I'm confused. I don't go in there very often. There's a million elevators, escalators, there's 1,000 people. There's screaming kids. I'm like, please, Lord, if it's near my time, I'm happy with it being this instant. Get me out of here. It's so exhausting. And then, oh my gosh. And my foot was hurting. My foot was hurting because I had like this sock that I wore that was irritating my foot. Anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So we're trying to get back to the rental car. My daughter's not even wearing a coat. I don't know why. It's really cold out. So I'm like, where do we go? I'm so confused. Like, how do we get out? And here's my daughter. Oh, you always get so turned around. And I do sometimes. But, just follow me. I know where we're going. I go, oh, are you sure? I don't think we went down. Yes, we did. You don't know. She knows. So I go, okay, fine. I follow her. Guys, she was wrong. I was right. So we're in the parking garage. We cannot find the rental car. And now we're feeling like just crazy because it looked like the exact same parking garage as the one that we came in on, but we can't find the rental. And so now I'm like, I'm pushing the little alarm that tells you where it is and we can hear it, but we can't find it. The reason we can hear it is because it's on another floor. And I go, wait a minute, is that coming from above us? And then we look at each other. I go, I was right. So then we have to try to find where the other doggone floor is. We finally get it. We get to the rental car. And then we are just done. And so it was just so funny, but it was like hell at the same time. I'm like, I don't need to go anywhere. I need to go home. And I didn't get to return my shoes. I ended up having to do it later at like a FedEx because I couldn't find this store. So anyway, that is a really long introduction, but it's just life. It is life and it's been crazy. And so my friends that I have talked to this weekend, they all have something crazy and exhausting going on. So I think it might just be the energy of this year. But you have to laugh at it. At least I do. Laughter is my coping mechanism. So anyway, I know that was a crazy long introduction, but it's life. And so that's why I wanted to start out with that. And I am going to get into the topic for today because I know, especially with the themes that have been going on over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about this pattern that almost all of us have carried at some point. You might still be carrying it, whether we realize it or not. And that's living for the acceptance of others while quietly rejecting ourselves. And I want to talk about why this happens, how to recognize when you're stuck in this loop, and how to shift into self-trust self-esteem and healthy boundaries without losing humility or compassion, because I see that happen too, where people swing the other way and then it just becomes hostile. And we want to find the balance and the authenticity in it. So, my hope is that this episode will not only help you recognize this in your own life, but also give you real tools to move through it with strength and grace. And sometimes people project this on us. And why do we do it? It starts in childhood. From an early age, we're conditioned to believe that love is earned through performance and approval. It's just the way that generations have raised their children. I think it's shifting a little bit now, and oftentimes when we're shifting, we go to the other extreme before we find the balance. So we do see some of that. And many of us grew up in these environments where pleasing others kept the peace, where our survival, emotionally or even physically, depended on fitting in. And energetically, what I've learned through pranic healing is when we crave external validation, we start to send our energy outward. So, where your attention goes, energy flows. We know this. So, if we're overly focused on what others think, we leak our life force energy and we become energetically entangled in what pranic healing often refers to as like external permission loops. That's not the language they use, but that's how I interpret that, as like these external permission loops. And it's like your energy is leaking out, your power is outside of yourself. And Brene Brown talks about like Fitting in is about it's about accessing a situation and then becoming who you need to be accepted. Whereas belonging is about being your authentic self. So fitting in and belonging is not the same thing. And sometimes we mistake fitting in for belonging. But when we try to fit in at the expense of who we really are, we're not truly connected to ourselves or to anyone else. We start feeling like a counterfeit. We feel like we just don't belong because we aren't able to express who we really are. And in pranic healing, I've learned in the energy field, I can see it. When you're tied to outside approval, you create these cords of attachment that drain you. And then your aura gets cluttered with other people's expectations and energy, and your own inner voice becomes harder to hear because you're just connected to noise all the time. And I see this where people can't tune in to hear their own answers. They need to ask 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people to get those. And then you have too much information and then you can't hear. And we've all done this. So there's no judgment. When we recognize something, when we become mindful of it, we have the power to shift it. So here's how to know if you're in this pattern. If you know that or how to recognize when you're living for external acceptance at the expense of self-acceptance, constantly worrying about what other people think. Oh, good Lord, y'all. I was married to someone like this and it was so exhausting. It was exhausting. Constantly worried what other people think, saying yes when you really want to say no, feeling anxious when you make choices outside the approval of others, comparing yourself relentlessly, feeling like you never measure up, and feeling drained after interactions because your energy field is leaking. So it just feels like you can't pull in because you're constantly in this hyper state of what are other people thinking? And it's such a powerless feeling because you can't control what other people think. And I heard Mel Robbins talk about the most powerful person in the room is the one who's not seeking approval. And I do think that's true because when you stop seeking permission, you step into self-leadership. And in energy healing, we learn your energy body will tell the truth even when your mind cannot. So if you're feeling depleted or clouded after being around certain people, situations, your energy field is signaling to you that something needs to shift. And I know I've talked about this before, but a lot of us get into relationships with people who drain us, people who are takers because of that codependent pattern, because of the light worker being the brighter light. And if you're the one doing the work and you're around people that don't do the work, the light feeds the dark areas. So the energy goes down. So this is why it's so important to set boundaries, pick a community, pick some place to replenish yourself because you don't want leakage going on all around. This is why we talk about finding our tribe and all the things that we talk about here on this channel. So I wanted to be clear about something. Choosing self-acceptance is not selfish and it is not arrogant. Usually the people that say that are the ones that were once benefiting from your lack of boundaries. And when you start to shift and change and take better care of yourself, they don't like it. So there is the balance between healthy self-esteem, humility, and healthy boundaries. We're not talking about cutting people off and being cutthroat. I know sometimes that's necessary, but I'm talking about healthy self-esteem, being quiet confidence. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about knowing your worth without needing it confirmed by external applause. And Brene Brown talks about this as having a strong back, soft front, and a wild heart, having the strength to stand firm in your truth, the softness to stay open hearted, and the courage to live authentically. So we know where there is compassion, there is also order. You can have compassion for others and still honor your own energetic order and boundaries. And, when you hold strong boundaries, you're not saying, I'm better than you. You're saying, I honor my path and I honor yours too, from a healthy distance if needed. And, we talked about in a previous podcast, Mel Robbins has become really popular with her let them theory, and it's really just the art of detachment. But we've got a new label for it and a new person saying it in a new way. And it's all good stuff. It's not new stuff. It's all good stuff. But these are just things said in a new way for a new audience. And I'm here for it. I love it. And I've been hearing a lot of her stuff come through recently. So I wanted to reference some of that because she was talking about interrupting your default people pleasing response. And when you feel the pull to please at the expense of yourself, she does this count backwards technique of counting from 5 to 1, pausing, and choosing your alignment over approval. So giving yourself some space so that you can breathe, think about it, make a decision because you're creating a new habit. And I know that it's not always easy. And the other thing I want to talk about is handling shame projections because this is something that I had to deal with recently. When my mother passed away, one of my relatives was trying to shame me for my relationship with my mother, which was different than hers. And she doesn't know half of it because they don't want to hear it and they don't want to accept it. But she tried to shame me by saying, people at the nursing home didn't know she had a daughter because I didn't visit often. Well, for one, she lives in a different state. It's not easy or cheap. By the way, when we went, we had to get a hotel and we didn't have anywhere to stay and rent a car. And it was an expensive trip and a very depleting trip. And my mother did not even recognize me anymore. And I did not have a close relationship with my mother. And I was complete with my mother. And so I noticed the attempt to throw a shame projection. And I addressed it and said, I don't need this right now. And not from a place of defensiveness, not from a place of guardedness, from a place of clarity. I have a lot of emotional maturity that I recognize that they don't possess. And I've done a lot of work around this. So you're not going to be able to shame or guilt me into something that I've already healed. It just won't work. And what I know is when people feel uncomfortable with your boundaries or choices, they will sometimes use shame as a tool to pull you back into alignment with their story. And I don't want to be a part of their story. I'm fine. I I have no interest in it. And they can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the truth. So when you have discernment, discerning energy protects your inner peace. I just dodged right over it and I addressed it head on, said exactly what I needed to say in a very kind and compassionate manner because I don't have any unresolved issues around this. It's solved for me. So here's what to do in these moments. First of all, recognize the projection and then ask yourself, is this really mine to carry or is this their unhealed story? Pause. You can do the counting from 5 to 1 because doing this and counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it interrupts the emotional reaction because a lot of times that's automatic. And then doing your energetic shielding, visualize a protective shield of light around you and affirm, I am sovereign in my energy. I do not absorb projections or shame. And then respond, don't react. And that's what I did. I responded. If you choose to speak, say calmly, that's your perception. I'm at peace with my choices, or something like that. Shame thrives in secrecy. Naming it, even internally, dissolves its power. And I don't have any shame around my mother. I feel really good about how hard I tried with my mother and all the healing work that I did for her that she could not do for herself, and the way that I broke cycles and patterns within my own family and within my own life. I'm really, really happy with myself. I wouldn't have done anything differently. So the fifth thing is energetic cleansing, which is part of our spiritual practice. Sweeping your aura, taking a salt bath, meditating to clear residual energy, even walking, anything to shake the energy off, and then blessing and releasing. And you can do this mentally or verbally, saying something like, I release you with love and I trust your journey while I'm aligning with mine. And the other thing about this is giving others the grace to live their story, because part of healing this pattern is realizing that not everyone will understand your growth. And that's okay. Let people have their own story. I have a friend of mine that's a counselor, and he told me, Susan, you're always going to be a villain in someone else's story. And I think he's right. And I think that that's probably true for all of us, because we are living our path and our life. And listen, when you say apologies, when you make amends, when you're trying to basically have a relationship with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you or cannot meet themselves, so they certainly cannot meet you, you've done all that you can do in that situation. And it's at that time where you just have to practice the art of a detachment and let it go and trust that I've done everything I can do here. I feel at peace. I'm happy with the way I handle things. I can't choose the way other people choose to receive me or my path. So I really believe that grace is a big part of this. There's so much freedom in releasing the need to manage other people's perceptions. One of the things that I heard Byron Katie, I think it was Byron Katie, heard her say once that I really liked is she said, there's my business, your business, and God's business. Stay in your business, bless others from afar, and trust that everyone is learning in their own time. And I really do believe that. It's really standing in alignment. And I think my spiritual practices really helped me with this, because my intuition comes in so crystal clear because I've cultivated it. And because I do all of the healing work that I do, and I do my meditation and my cleansing, and I have inner peace in my heart. And when I look around, a lot of people that are doing these projections, they don't have inner peace. And you could have millions of dollars, but without inner peace, what do you really have? Being a calm, peaceful person is the GOAT, in my opinion. For those of you who don't know what that means, I don't know why. I just heard some people don't know what that means. Surely you do, but just in case you don't, the greatest of all time. Okay, so let's go into a healing, and then we will close with some beautiful reminders. And you can uncross your arms and legs. I will turn the healing on. Okay, and so it is. And so, what I wanted to wrap up with is self acceptance is not selfish. It is a gift to yourself and to the collective because when you stand in your truth, you give others permission to do the same. And when you're no longer living for the acceptance of others while abandoning yourself, you live from your center. And then you become magnetic to what is aligned and graceful and letting go of what is not. And also, when you love yourself, you become magnetic to love because that is the vibration you're emitting. So, I wanted to close with a simple blessing. May you reclaim your energy, your voice, and your truth. May you trust your path, bless others on theirs, and walk forward in clarity and grace. And so be it. And I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care. Bye bye.